Before I get into the story, let me say this. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, go ahead and like the video, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe so you do not miss out on the next one. Now, let me take you back to an evening that started out like any other. One of those calm, cozy nights where everything just feels right in the world. My wife, Emily, and I had been married nearly 25 years. After all that time, we had slipped into a rhythm, a steady, easy routine. It was not boring, just familiar. The spark was still there, but it had taken on a quieter, more settled form. We had grown into each other like old trees whose roots had twisted together underground. She was my home. My best friend. My safe place. That night, though, something happened that threw all of that into question. It was a Friday. The house was warm, glowing with that soft kind of light that makes everything feel a little more magical. The dishwasher was humming, candles were lit, and the walls danced with flickering shadows. We had Jason over for dinner. He's been my friend since we were kids, practically a brother. Over the years, he had become part of the family, always showing up for holidays, cookouts, all of it. Jason had this way of making you feel seen. He did not talk much, but when he did, you paid attention. But that night, he was different. I could not put my finger on it at first, but something about the way he looked at Emily, it set something off in me. Not anger exactly, just a feeling in my gut that I could not quite shake. I was doing my usual, telling stories, making jokes, keeping things light. Jason, as usual, sat there calm, with that quiet presence of his. But I noticed he kept glancing at Emily, and every now and then, I swear I heard him mutter something under his breath. It sounded like, "I'm sorry," over and over, almost like he was carrying some weight he could not shake. Emily looked like she was trying to stay in the moment, laugh at the right times, sip her wine casually. But I could tell her attention kept drifting. She was picking up on something too. After dinner, we had dessert, my favorite, chocolate mousse, and we were all settling into that comfortable silence that comes after a good meal. And that's when it happened. Jason leaned forward, his voice just loud enough to cut through the quiet. "You know," he said, looking right at Emily, "I have always thought you were more than just Mark's wife." Everything froze. Emily stopped mid-sip, holding her glass like it had suddenly gained 10 pounds. I was scrolling on my phone, not really paying attention, but I caught enough to feel a shift in the air. Jason's eyes locked onto hers, and for a long second, it was like I wasn't even there. Just the two of them. Emily asked him, steady but unsure, "What do you mean by that?" Jason leaned back, his fingers resting on his wine glass, and gave this half-smile, like he was admitting to something he had kept hidden for years. "I do not know how to say it, really," he said. "But I have always felt there's something between us. Some kind of connection. Don't you think?" Emily turned to look at me, maybe hoping I had heard, or that I would say something, but I was still stuck in my own world, head down in my phone, missing the quiet storm happening right in front of me. It felt like I was stuck in a moment that didn't belong to real life. Everything slowed down, like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, not sure whether to jump or back away. I opened my mouth, "Jason, but nothing came out. What could I even say? Could I pretend like he never said any of that? Or was it something I had to finally face? My head was spinning, trying to keep up with all the thoughts crashing into each other. Jason must have seen how off balance I was, because he spoke again real quick. "I didn't mean to make things weird," he said, his voice quieter now. "I'm not saying I ever wanted anything from you. It's not like that. I've just always admired you. You're not just someone's wife, or a mom, or the person who keeps everything running. You're you." Then he stopped talking and just let the words hang there between us. And in that silence, something cracked open inside me. I had spent so many years seeing myself through the lens of what I did for others, Mark's wife, the steady hand at home, the glue that held everything together. But Jason's words cut through all that. He was looking at me, not the role I played. I could barely breathe for a second. The room went quiet except for the faint clink of glasses and the hum of the fridge in the kitchen. Then Mark, still distracted and not catching any of what was really going on, looked up and said, "You two look so serious. Let's play a game or something. How about some cards?" I forced a smile, even though my chest felt tight, and nodded. Jason looked over at Mark and said, "Yeah, sure." But his eyes stayed on me just a second longer. In that look, there was something real. Something that reached a part of me I did not even know was there. The rest of the night kind of blurred together after that. We played a few hands, cracked some jokes, talked about the usual stuff, sports, work, little nothings. But none of that could erase what had been said. The air between us was different now. It had shifted, quiet but unmistakable. When the night finally wound down, Mark and Jason said their goodbyes, and I stood at the door, watching them head out into the dark. I stayed there a while after I closed it, just standing in the quiet. Something in me knew I had crossed into unfamiliar ground. The night might have ended for everyone else, but for me, it felt like something was just beginning. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I had been tossed into someone else's life. Everything looked the same, but something inside me felt off. I usually had a good grip on things, my thoughts, my feelings, all of it. But now, I felt like I was standing on shaky ground, trying to get my footing. I kept hearing Jason's voice in my head. "You're not just a wife, a mother, a caretaker. You're you." It was such a simple thing, but it hit me like a truth I had been avoiding for years. I had been so focused on holding everything together that I never stopped to think about who I was underneath it all. Was he just being kind? Or was there more to it? And why did it feel so important? I looked over at Mark, still asleep beside me, peaceful like always. His breathing steady, not a care in the world. I didn't want to wake him. He always started the day with a sense of calm I never quite understood. He would stretch, make coffee, maybe read the paper. Me? I was already drowning in thoughts before I even got out of bed. I tried to shove the feelings aside. Made coffee. Toasted some bread. Went through the motions. But Jason's words kept tapping at the back of my mind. I kept hearing them, clear as day. And worse, I could still feel the way he looked at me, like I was something more than I ever gave myself credit for. That look stayed with me. As the morning wore on, I kept trying to shake it off, to go back to normal. But deep down, I knew things had changed. That comment, it was not just some offhand compliment. It was like he had seen a part of me I had lost a long time ago. Maybe even a part one had never fully met. There was this strange thought I could not get rid of. What if Jason saw the real me? The me that got buried under routines, errands, schedules, and years of playing the same role? I did not have an answer. But I knew one thing for sure. Whatever that moment was, it had opened a door inside me. And now I could not ignore it. But deep down, I knew it was not just what Jason said. It was the way he looked at me while he said it. Like he saw something in me I had forgotten was even there. That look, it stayed with me. It made me feel noticed. Like I mattered. Not as someone's wife. Not as a mother. But just, me. That feeling scared the hell out of me. Around lunchtime, I figured I had to talk to someone, anyone who could help me make sense of the mess in my head. So I called my sister, Lily. She had always been the kind of person who could see through the noise. She never sugarcoated things, just gave it to you straight. And right now, I needed straight. Still, I hesitated with the phone in my hand. How do you even say something like this out loud? "Hey, your brother-in-law's best friend made me feel seen in a way I haven't felt in years." It sounded crazy, even to me. But I hit the call button anyway. "Hello?" she answered, her voice familiar and warm, like always. "Hey. It's me," I said, my voice already shaky. I need to talk. What's wrong? She asked immediately, her tone switching from casual to worried in a heartbeat. You sound off. I sat down at the kitchen table and rubbed my forehead. It's Jason. You know, Mark's oldest friend. He said something last night that's been stuck in my head. I can't stop thinking about it. There was a long pause, and then she asked carefully, what did he say? I took a breath. He said I wasn't just Mark's wife. That he sees me, like the real me. Not just the roles I play. He said, he respects me. Like really respects me. I could feel Lily trying to wrap her head around it. She was quiet for a beat. Okay, that's not a small thing to say. Did he mean it in a weird way? Or was he trying to make a pass? I shook my head. No, it didn't feel like that. It wasn't sleazy or anything. It felt honest. Deep, even. Like he was saying something he had been holding on to for a long time. I don't know why, but it got to me. It got under my skin. I feel different now. Lily exhaled on the other end of the line. Listen. You've been in this marriage for what? Over 2 decades? 25 years, I said. Exactly. That's a long time to play one role, being the dependable one, the quiet supporter, the fixer. It's easy to forget that you were a whole person before any of that. Maybe Jason just reminded you of that. I think he did, I said quietly, almost afraid to admit it. But I wasn't expecting it. Especially not from him. Lily was quiet for a moment. Maybe that's why it hit so hard. You weren't ready for it. But maybe you needed it. That doesn't mean you owe anyone anything. It just means it's time to pay attention to what's going on inside you. I nodded slowly. I don't want to lose myself. But I also don't know what to do with all this. You don't have to do anything right now, she said. Just give yourself room to breathe. Step back, reflect. That's all. Yeah, I said. I'll try. Thanks, Lily. Anytime. I'm here, okay? We hung up, and I sat there for a long while, staring at the phone like it still had something left to say. Her words helped. A little. But they did not make the feelings go away. They were still there, sitting heavy in my chest. I knew I had to sort them out, soon, but for now, I just tried to carry on. Problem was, I could not stop thinking about Jason. Every time I let my mind wander, it went straight back to him. His voice, his expression, the weight behind what he said. I kept trying to tell myself it was nothing, just a passing moment. But I knew better. I felt better. It was not just a comment, it was like a window had opened inside me. Was I overthinking it? Maybe. Or maybe this was something I had been pushing down for years. Maybe it was time to finally face it. That evening, when Mark walked through the front door like he always did, dropping his keys in the dish and giving me a tired smile, I felt it again, that tension deep in my smarkack. I did not know how to look at him. Because now, for the first time in years, I was not just seeing him. I was seeing me, too. How was I supposed to tell Mark what I was feeling, when what I was feeling had nothing to do with something he did wrong? It was not his fault, and yet, somehow, it still felt like he was wrapped up in it. And bringing up Jason? I could not even imagine how that conversation would go without it sounding strange or worse, like a betrayal. So I did what I had always done when things got too hard to explain. I smiled. Kissed him on the cheek like always. Told him I was fine. And I acted like everything was exactly the way it should be. But deep down, I knew I was lying to both of us. There was something hanging in the air now, something you could not see, but you could feel. A shift. A heaviness. And it was not going to just disappear on its own. I knew that much. I just did not know what to do about it yet. The days that followed felt strange. Like I was walking around with invisible static buzzing under my skin. Not loud enough to stop me in my tracks, but always there, humming beneath everything. While I made breakfast, while I ran errands, while I tried to focus on anything else, it was always right there in the background. It was not like the world looked any different. I still did the laundry, fed the dog, cleaned up the kitchen. But I did all of it with this tight feeling in my chest, like something inside me had come loose and I did not know how to put it back. And Mark? Every time I looked at him, I felt a little farther away. Not because I loved him any less, but because something inside me had changed. Something had woken up, something I had not even realized had gone quiet. The hardest part was, I did not know how to explain any of it. How do you look at your husband, the man you built a life with, and tell him that someone else's words made you question who you really are? How do you admit that you were starting to see yourself differently, even if nothing around you had changed? That is when I decided, I needed to hear from Jason again. I had to make sense of it. No more dancing around it. I needed to face it, not hide from it. I picked up my phone, my fingers trembling as I dialed his number. It rang once, then twice. Then I heard his voice. "Hello? Jason?" I said. There was a pause, and then I blurted, "It's Lily." I do not know why I lied. The name just came out before I could stop it. Maybe I was scared. Maybe I wanted to pretend this was something casual. Something safe. "Lily?" he repeated, sounding surprised, but not suspicious. "Well, hey. What's going on?" I swallowed hard, trying to sound normal. "Just wanted to check in. See how things are going." Another pause. He was quiet for a beat, like he was trying to figure out what this was really about. "I'm good," he finally said. "Busy with work, same as always. But I'm guessing this is not just a friendly check-in. What is it, really?" His voice was gentle, but steady. He was not trying to pressure me. Just letting me know he was ready to listen. I hesitated. Then, barely louder than a whisper, I said, "It's something you said, the other night. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it." I could hear him shift, like he was settling into the conversation. But he did not interrupt. "When you said I wasn't just Mark's wife," I continued. "That you saw me as something more. That really hit me." There was a long silence on the line. Then Jason spoke again, softer this time. "I never meant to make things uncomfortable," he said. "But I stand by what I said. I meant every word. You are more than just someone's wife or someone's support system. You are you. And you deserve to be seen that way." His words sank deep into me. I did not know what I had been expecting from him, maybe a quick apology, or a brush off to make it all go away. But he did the opposite. He saw me. He kept seeing me. And that did something to me. "I don't know what to do, Jason," I admitted. "It has been eating at me. I've been so wrapped up in this life I built, I forgot who I used to be. And now I don't know who that person even is." Jason stayed quiet for a second. When he spoke, his voice was calm, full of care. "Look, I'm not trying to cause problems. I'm not trying to make your life harder. But I have known you for a long time. I have always admired you, not because of your marriage, but because of who you are. You should never feel like you have to shrink yourself down to just one role. You're more than that. Always have been." That lump in my throat came back. I blinked hard, trying not to let the tears fall. His words were simple. But they carried weight. They comforted me, and shook me at the same time. It is strange how something so simple, just a few quiet words, can hit you like a wave and knock loose everything you thought you had nailed down. I had spent so many years trying to be everything for everyone. Keeping the wheels turning. Making sure everyone else was okay. And in the middle of all that, somewhere along the way, I forgot about me. I said it more to myself than to Jason. I don't even know if I'm ready for this. I don't know what to do. You do not have to do anything right now, he said gently, his voice softer than before. Just, do not ignore it. Don't push it down. Let yourself feel it. I nodded, even though I knew he could not see me. Thank you, Jason, I said. I think I really needed to hear that. We said goodbye. I set the phone down and just stared at it for a while, my thoughts running in circles. It was like something inside me had been cracked open. I felt raw. Nervous. But strangely lighter, too. Like I had finally admitted something I had been holding in for years. The next morning, I knew I could not keep it to myself anymore. I had to talk to Mark. We were sitting in the kitchen like we always did, me sipping my coffee, him half hidden behind the newspaper. The house was quiet, still waking up with the day. But in my chest, everything felt loud. Mark looked up, sensing the change before I even opened my mouth. Everything okay? He asked. His voice was soft, his eyes steady. I put my coffee down. My hands were shaking a little. There's something I need to tell you. He lowered his paper, all of his attention now on me. What's going on? I took a breath. It's about Jason. His face tightened just a bit, like he was bracing for something. The other night, I said slowly, he said something that's been stuck in my head ever since. What did he say? I hesitated, then met his eyes. He said I'm more than just your wife. That he sees me as me, not just in terms of my role in your life. Mark blinked, his brow furrowed. It wasn't flirtatious or anything, I added quickly. But it made me realize something. I've spent so many years trying to be a good partner, a good mother, a good everything. But somewhere along the way, I forgot who I was outside of that. Mark sat quiet for a long moment. His face was hard to read, there was concern in it and something else too. Maybe confusion. Maybe even hurt. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and careful. I never meant to make you feel that way. Like you were just my wife. He looked down, his fingers tightening slightly around his mug. But if I'm honest, I'd been so caught up in work and the kids and everything else. I stopped asking how you were doing. I guess I did start taking you for granted. Hearing him say that, so openly, without defensiveness, was like a weight lifting off my chest. It wasn't anger I felt. It was a kind of sad truth that we had both been avoiding. But now it was out there, and we were looking at it together. The honesty in his voice caught me off guard. And something clicked inside me, this wasn't just about me figuring myself out. It was also about us finding our way back to each other. The days that followed felt like a fresh start. Mark and I sat down and had real conversations, not just about chores or errands or the kids, but about us. About how we had grown, what we had lost along the way, and what we wanted going forward. We did not solve everything overnight. There were still moments of doubt, still old habits creeping back in. But something had shifted. We were seeing each other again. Listening. Respecting. And most importantly, giving each other space to be more than just our roles. It was not about walking away from the life we built. It was about waking up inside of it. Finding each other again. And maybe, finding ourselves, too. There was nothing flashy about it. No big turning point or dramatic moment. But somehow, it felt like a breath of fresh air. Like the fog had finally lifted. It was not just about our marriage anymore. It was about me. About us. I was no longer just Mark's wife, I was Lily again. A whole person, with my own wants, my own thoughts, and dreams I had put on the shelf for far too long. Mark and I found ourselves talking more, really talking, not just about bills or schedules, but about things that had sat untouched for years. Things we had both tiptoed around. We laughed about old memories, cried about the hard truths we had not faced, and had the kind of uncomfortable conversations that, oddly enough, brought us closer than we had been in a long time. There were still tough moments, of course there were, but there was also this quiet connection growing between us. A kind of trust that had nothing to do with routine and everything to do with respect. With really seeing each other again. One evening, about a week after everything started to shift, I took a walk alone. I needed space. Time to breathe and think without anyone around. The sky was brushed with streaks of pink and purple as the sun dipped behind the rooftops. The air was cool, and the streets were quiet. As I walked through the neighborhood, I felt this peaceful stillness settle over me, like for the first time in a long time, I was not carrying the weight of the world. I ended up at the old park, the one where Mark and I used to spend lazy afternoons before life got so full and fast. There were still those same creaky swings, and I sat down on one, gently swaying, letting my thoughts wander. I am more than someone's wife. More than a mother. I am Lily. Not perfect, not polished. But real. Complete. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I believed it. I thought about Jason. About what he had said. About how his words had shaken something loose inside me, something that had needed to move for a long time. I was not angry at him. In fact, I was thankful. His words had helped me realize I had been putting myself second for far too long. And now? It was time to show up for me. As the sky darkened, I stood up from that swing, took one last look at the park, and started walking home. My steps felt lighter. Like I had shed something heavy I had been carrying without even realizing it. When I stepped through the front door, Mark was there, sitting at the kitchen table. He looked up, and when he saw me, something in his face changed. It was warm, open, like he knew something had shifted, too. "I'm home," I said, and I meant it in every sense of the word. He stood, walked over, and took my hand. "I know," he said softly. "I can see it." And just like that, I knew. This man, the one I had built a life with, faced storms with, laughed and cried with, he was still here. Still choosing me. And now, I was choosing myself too. We did not need to speak much after that. The quiet between us said enough. We had turned a page, not a dramatic new chapter, but a deeper understanding. A quieter kind of love. One built not on roles or responsibilities, but on honesty, and respect, and the kind of courage it takes to really look at each other, and at ourselves. "I love you," I whispered. It wasn't just a habit, or something I had said 1,000 times before. This time, it meant something different. Something more. "I love you, too," Mark said, pulling me into a soft hug. And standing there, in his arms, I realized something that had taken me years to understand. Real growth, the kind that lasts, does not come from chasing some perfect version of life. It comes from finally being honest. With yourself. With the people you love. It comes from facing the hard stuff and deciding to keep going anyway. And no, life does not always go the way we plan. But sometimes, the smallest moments, a quiet conversation, a walk alone, the right words at the right time, can change everything. As we moved forward, side by side, I knew it wasn't just about starting over. It was about starting real. Together. And on our own. And we would be okay. More than okay. We would be strong. Because we had finally figured out how to love not just each other, but who we truly were.